Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. We're going to look at the last 7 days here in this map, which shows us percent of normal precipitation. And from the southeast through the mid-Atlantic, even in parts of the northeast, we were quite dry last week. Big area of higher atmospheric pressure kind of protected us from getting any moisture return, and the good news is we've not seen any major tropical activity push through. In fact, right now, we're just going to watch Sam, which is here, kind of loop-the-loop up here into parts of the North Atlantic before heading off toward Europe. And there is a system out here named Victor, which we're keeping an eye on as well. There you can see Tropical Depression Victor, which has been downgraded over the weekend here. Now, you might see this area just off the coast here, where the National Hurricane Center has given this region a 10% chance of developing into a system, but this is not going to be the major source of our precipitation going forward into this week, and that's what I want to get into right away here, because this is not what I shared with you last week. Remember, when we looked at the Week 2 forecast last Monday, we did not get strong signals from the European model that we were going to see this event this week take shape. And I'm not talking about that tropical event. I'm actually talking about a cutoff low over parts of the Mid-South into the Tennessee Valley. And as a result, the new forecasts, which we saw evolve throughout the week last week, are now looking substantially wetter, especially over toward the Appalachian Mountains. So as you look at this, just looking at the WPC data, taking it for what it is, this line right here represents where you can have greater than 1.5 inches of rainfall. So you see that those amounts increase as you go toward the Appalachian Mountains. And from here toward the coast, we're looking at, generally speaking, 1/2 inch to some places here getting upwards of 1.5 inches of rainfall. And what's causing this, and why the models did not pick up on this last week, is this feature right here, which develops over the next about 36 hours. It is a cut-off low. Now, what I mean by that is we're looking here at the jet stream level winds, and if you just trace them out, they're doing something like this. Now, what happened is this piece right here has been cut off from the main flow. See that? And it just sits there and spins. And a week ago, we just didn't have evidence at that point, last Monday, that this was going to take shape. It really didn't start to show up in the forecast models until the Tuesday night runs, and then it was there for the rest of the week, which is why I encourage all of you to get signed up for my daily reports, which again, I'll post the link to that at the end of this video. Okay, so it's going to sit here and spin, and as a result, it's going to pull the moisture from that would-be tropical system that the National Hurricane Center says 10% chance of developing. I'm not watching it develop. I'm watching where its moisture is going to go. And then as you can see, it's going to pull moisture up out of the south as well. And it all depends on how far to the east this cutoff low makes it to see how much precipitation we end up getting. And then behind it, this trough, and this trough. We're going to keep sending these deep troughs into the west. And I want you to see the impacts that that's going to have on our long-term forecast as well. So that's the main discussion points for today. Let's dig into some of the details. I'm going to start in the upper levels first. This is the jet stream level wind. So when you look at this, you can follow the main flow of the jet stream by looking for the brightest colors. See them there? And that also tells you the fastest winds. If you follow the black contour lines, that'll tell you the direction they're going to go. So here is the cutoff low that develops by Tuesday. See it? That's one we just saw here. And the main branch of the jet stream goes pretty far to our north. But as we play this forward, you see that through Wednesday into Thursday and Friday, all that it did was it moved from here to Illinois. Now, if it does that, well, we end up getting these like bands of precipitation that can come around the edge of it. And as they push into the Appalachian Mountains, sorry, my drawing is getting a bit messy here. But as that pushes into the Appalachian Mountains, you're going to get some elevation-induced lift, and that's why there's increased rainfall. But what comes through here, if you see this piece right there, that piece of the jet stream, is going to take whatever is stuck between the real flow, which is pretty far to the north, and the cutoff, and just start to shove it out of the way. So this is Friday, getting into Saturday now, Sunday, and now it's just gone. See it? There's our cutoff low pushed back into the flow. And now all the action's coming over the mountains, and there's a trough here, and there's a trough there, and they're just slicing through the western part of the United States. And we're going to ask ourselves, what does that mean for our Week 2 forecast starting, on Sunday, Monday next week? Because if these keep digging into the west, we tend to have broader ridging over the east, and we need to see what that means in terms of our precipitation pattern. So that's it. That is the setup as we move here toward the middle of the month of October. Now, the details in terms of precip, let's start off with the high-res NAM. I'm going to take it back to the beginning of this animation. Why don't we start right about 9 a.m. Eastern time today. So you're going to see throughout the day on Monday, getting into Monday evening, a lot of scattered showers. That's it. I'm just going to get scattered showers. And the cutoff low is sitting here. Look, if I go back and forth, you can almost see the spin in the atmosphere right in this area. Now, working our way to Tuesday morning, Tuesday midday, and then Tuesday evening, you can see I'll just rock back and forth over the day on Tuesday. We're going to get just scattered showers. You're going to see in the forecast like a 50% chance of rain every day across most of North Carolina, because that's what we're going to get out of this. The coverage is not widespread, but there will be some places that pick up on some heavier rain. Now going into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, here's 6 a.m. Wednesday morning, getting out there to Wednesday midday, just notice it doesn't really go too far. And as it starts to move, it's going to move toward Illinois. So we're just going to keep getting what comes around the backside of this. But since the NAM model is a high-res short-term model, it can only get us out to 1 p.m. on Wednesday, we got to flip over to the European to see where it goes from there. So let's watch the same time period, Monday into Tuesday, and now out to Wednesday midday. So that week cutoff low is just sitting somewhere in this vicinity. And as I play this forward and through Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I mean, it just slowly gets pulled north, leaving a very weak frontal boundary here. So we're going to just see this week, nearly every day, chances for rainfall all the way through this weekend. This is, again, valid on Saturday morning. Now, getting through the weekend, we do get a little bit of a break. It looks like early next week. But then this is where all the action starts to come into the midsection of the country. So if I take you back here, we get one low coming through here, another one there, and then another one that's going to follow this. And that's when things are going to really start to shift around for us. Now all the action comes back to the midsection of the country. So you'll see that. Look, day 10, trough, ridge. And these troughs are slicing through, they're slicing through the midsection of the country. And the models just refuse to break down this big ridge that's been in place here over the Canadian Maritimes up to the just east of the Hudson Bay. So by mid-October through, let's go out there to the 19th of October, we just keep reinforcing that pattern. And that's why week 2, okay, we know models blew it last week, but week 2, you can see they're still favoring drier. And that's because all the action is going to come through the jet stream pulling through like this, more in the central and western part of the United States. Now, remember, last week, the GFS did a better job than the European on predicting week 2. And you know that I almost exclusively hang on to the European because of its long-term performance statistics. But I do want to show you what the current GFS forecast is looking like. And it is quite similar. There's the European precip anomalies. Here's the GFS. I see actually a lot of similarities this week rather than dissimilarities. So we're going to go ahead and trust both models that they got this week 2 pattern right. We'll be able to verify that in my next video on Monday. Okay, that gets you through precip in the next 2 weeks. Let's talk about temperatures. Now watch these temperatures here over the next few days. Really focus on the northern plains. I know you'll keep an eye on the Carolinas, but your temperature pattern's really quite steady. Just a lot of mid-70s. So look, there's Monday into Tuesday, but look at the heat coming to the northern plains out ahead of these systems. Wednesday, I mean, Raleigh, still 76. Thursday, 74. And Friday, 74. See how it's not changing much here? All the action's opening up in the warm sector here as the west cools down in a big way through the end of this week. By Saturday, that's when that weak front tries to slide through and our temperatures go back to the low 70s. But that much of this week is just low to mid 70s. You might have a couple of days that try to get into the upper 70s, but boring temperature pattern overall. All the action's back in the west. And you can really see that here. This is how things shape up once we get out to that day 5 through 10 time period. Deep troughs in the west, ridges building into the Canadian Maritimes to the Hudson Bay. And we're going to favor in day 5 through 10 above normal temperatures. And the same thing holds for day 10 through 15. Because the models don't want to let go of these troughs that come in through the Gulf of Alaska and run into the west. So this says through mid-October, we should be favoring more mild days than we do cooler days. Now, the big question I have been proposing is what happens beyond mid-October? Let's talk about that, and then let's get into a quick discussion about La Nina, and I'm going to hit South America and we'll wrap this up. The MJO is doing what we thought it was going to do, and that was going to move into the Western Pacific. Now, moving into the Western Pacific is not a cold signal for the East Coast. It's a cooler signal for the plains, the Midwest. It's a cooler signal for the West. So this is not something that's going to really change us over toward colder weather, but it might amplify that pattern I kind of drew for you here. all right? So we see that this is, again, the MJO, this is a tropical feature that impacts the jet stream pattern. Now from there, I want to show you ocean temperatures, because this La Nina, while it is weaker than the one we saw last year, it actually is showing up to be developing pretty rapidly. The Southern Oscillation Index continues to climb, and look at the cool water that we have. Let's refresh this so we can watch the latest updates. There we go. Look at the cool water we see upwelling here on this side of the Pacific. Now, where are you? South America is here, and Australia is over here. And, sorry, there we go. And the line connecting them is the surface of the Pacific Ocean. And this is going down in depth, down to 450 meters. And I presented this last week too, but I want you just to see that we've got some pretty good upwelling here throughout July, August, September, and no overall shift in that cooler water, which means this La Nina is going to continue. So what does that mean for October? Well, this is what it means. Now, this map is going to look a little strange to you because I want you to remember we have a La Nina, and I'm correlating the October temperature pattern with the temperatures in the Central Pacific. And that means where you see the cooler colors here, if there's a La Nina, this would mean warmer. So we'd be cooler along the south and definitely cooler along the west coast. So La Nina would say, this temperature pattern would be normal for the month of October. Okay, that's what we're getting out of that. But I don't think it's going to hang on like this all of October, even though the long-range models say it is. This is mid-October through mid-November, and it just says continue to favor more mild conditions. But I'm going to remind you, like I always do, that we're transitioning through fall toward winter. And so we do expect times when fronts come slicing through the warmer air and replace it, giving us cooler days. But the models continue to be persistent with the idea that there will be more days with above normal temperatures than there will be cooler days through mid-November. On the precipitation side of it, I'm just going to be honest with you. The models do not know what's going on. This makes sense. But the drier conditions in the Central Plains, what's going on over here on the eastern side of the United States, I just can't tell you the main drivers for why the models have given us these precipitation patterns. So we should not be trusting these long-range forecasts at all right now. Our precipitation forecast window is about 10 days out right now. So let's keep that in the back of our minds. So speaking of 10 days out, here's what the latest European model forecast looks like for South America. Now, where we've been having delays in planting has been right in through here. And just a quick geography lesson. This is the Tocantins, this is Goiás, Mato Grosso do Sul, Sao Paulo, Minas Gerais, and Pará. Now that area there is rapidly trying to plant the first crop of soybeans, and it has been dry in through here, which means the planting progress has primarily been in Brazil's northern growing areas and not been as fast through the central. They have to wait on the rains. And you can see that through the end of this week, getting into, let's see here, this is next Saturday and a Sunday, we expect this area to continue to see delays in the onset of precipitation. That's a big area. That's probably twice the size of Texas right in through there. But it's going to be bringing in rain north into Mato Grosso, which is the biggest soybean producing area, and extremely heavy rains to the south are going to be hitting a region that throughout the dry season actually saw drought develop. And if I play this out into next week, all the way out to the 14th, we do see the rains filling in, which means we do expect normal mid-October planting progress for central Brazil. But where it's going over drier after that is to the south. And this is an area that with a developing La Nina, we start to get really concerned about, specifically southern Brazil and Argentina. So I'm going to watch those things, keep a close eye on them, because I think they're going to be critical to maybe what some of the big markets are doing, especially corn and soybeans, all right? I'll report back to you again next Monday. Until then, have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you then. Thanks.